And so I'm watching on Superset, man. Guy put together Ronnie Coleman against the best of the best. The 2022 Mr. Olympia, the best of the best, against Ronnie Coleman. Who comes out on top? Who wins each and every pose? Coach Greg, and a lot of speculation exists as to who is the all-time best Mr. Olympia. Unfortunately, they were all from different time periods, and so someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger from the past, it wouldn't be fair to compare themselves with someone of today. But in today's video, we have an 03 Ronnie Coleman, who arguably is stated as being the best Mr. Olympia of all time, and we're going to stack him up against today's Mr. Olympia, the 2022 Mr. Olympia lineup. And so, how would Ronnie Coleman do? Would he in fact dominate? Would he win lights out every single pose, game over? Or would it be close? Would some poses go to other athletes? Or would Hottie take the show, no holds barred? And so many people state Arnold Schwarzenegger is the GOAT, the best Mr. Olympia of all time. But is that really true? If he were put up against competitors of today, would he win? Now consider this. Ronnie Coleman was competing 20 years ago. There was no HCLT subs. There was no Ecti Builder from Coach Greg, nor GO2 Max. And so imagine he was able to get that physique without taking any of this. And so I'd strongly recommend all Mr. Olympia competitors, please consider taking GO2 Max or Ecti Builder if you're looking to build muscle, get better cardio, improve your quality of life, and live longer than last time. NMN, which is the main ingredient in GO2 Max, not only helps you do more cardio and burn more calories, it also helps you to live longer. It increases NAD+ levels, which decline when you get older, and so it wards off age-related illnesses. And is that not what we all want? Do we not want to live longer? And so let's get right into it. The front double bicep. How would Ronnie Coleman stack up to this year's Mr. Olympia lineup?
Check out description for the link. Front double biceps, and sometimes the current lineup gives Ronnie a run for his money, but in 2022, the king is destroying all these guys.
Now, I gotta disagree. He's saying Ronnie Coleman destroys all these guys in the front double bicep. Not the case. Derek wins this pose. Why? Look at Ronnie's abdominal development. Look at Ronnie's, or lack thereof, abdominal development and lack of the small waist. He has a little bit of a bubble gut. It could be a lot smaller. And so in comparison, Derek Lunsford's waist so much smaller, I got to give it to Derek. Ronnie Coleman does have more impressive arms, peak biceps, and definitely beats out him in the legs. But overall, the symmetry, proportions, that small vacuum pose, tiny waist on Derek, I prefer Derek over Ronnie. And I gotta be honest with you, Samson on the left in green, if he could get a little bit leaner, add in some size to the biceps, he also perhaps would be more impressive than Ronnie Coleman. The real glaring weakness on Ronnie Coleman in this pose is the stomach. If his stomach were as small as Derek's or Samson Dada, it'd be lights out. But unfortunately, it's not. And so I'm not giving the first pose to Ronnie Coleman.
Front lat spread. First, if you're wondering about the sizing of Ronnie, yes, he may look a bit too tall in this one, but check out his legs in comparison to the other guys.
And so my opinion, they've morphed Ronnie Coleman, made him a little bit taller. Ronnie Coleman is not that tall. He's certainly not taller than Samson Dada. And so why does he look so tall? And so to me, not a fair comparison. And so I'm going to judge this assuming Ronnie's a little bit shorter than this. You can't just say, oh, look how big Ronnie Coleman is. Ronnie Coleman's not 6'2", and so they have exaggerated his size just a little bit. And in the front lat spread, I am going to still have to give it to Ronnie Coleman, and mostly because of the quads. Ronnie Coleman's legs are so big and so lean that they are overpowering the other competitors. Derek Lunsford, who won the front double bicep, to me, he needs bigger quads. That is his only weakness. If Derek can get bigger quads, I think he could beat Hottie next year. And Samson, the guy in the green on the left, although he has a great shape, he just doesn't have the mass, the size in the quads, the definition. Nick Walker also lacking the size in the quads to keep up with Ronnie. And Big Rami, although he has those massive quads, he's just simply lacking the detail of Ronnie Coleman. And so Ronnie Coleman wins the front lat spread pose.
Side chest pose, and Ronnie Coleman gets even more dominant pose by pose, and we haven't got to the back poses yet. Now, normally Big Rami would definitely challenge Ronnie in this pose, and I know that you Colemanites are unable to face it when Ronnie actually gets challenged or even defeated in the pose, but in my opinion, Prime Rami can
Sorry, Big Rami takes this one. What are you looking at? Are you looking at the same competitor as I am? Look at Big Rami's legs in the side chest pose. Big Rami has the best side chest in the world. And so perhaps you're a little biased. Ronnie Coleman, you could argue, has a better upper body in the side chest. But are you looking at the same pair of legs, glutes, as I am? Look at it from the side. Look at it from the side, the detail, the size. Big Rami, he takes the side chest.
Back double biceps, guys. Back double biceps. Is there any debate here? Ronnie is not invincible. He is the best to ever do it, but I can name a few bodybuilders that can push him pretty hard, like Prime Dorian, Prime Jay, Prime Phil, and Kai.
And from the back, rear double bicep, I remember Ronnie. I've seen him pose. I'm thinking, there is no way anyone is beating Ronnie from the back. And seeing this back double bicep, I still have to give it to Ronnie. But Hadi is very close. Perhaps Ronnie's not posing 100% properly here. Perhaps not getting the shoulders down enough. But I don't see as much width as I was expecting. But when you see Ronnie pose in person, to see that much thickness, that much mass with that much definition, Ronnie is simply the best back of all time. And it's not only the back, it's Ronnie Coleman's glutes, the striations, the muscle. It's unbelievable. And so you do have to give it to Ronnie, but Hadi and Derek close on his heels.
Back lat spread, and for this other back pose, we have pretty much the same story. Ronnie is just too good top to bottom. He even has the best calves in this lineup, a muscle group he got criticized for, if you can believe that. However, Big Rami has, or at least had, the potential to challenge Ronnie in this pose. And again, don't act like this is exact science. Different people can judge this in different ways.
And from the rear lat spread, Ronnie even more dominant. The lats, they just go for days. The hamstrings, the glutes, the calves, all very impressive. And shockingly, as great as Derek's back is, Hadi's is even wider, has even more muscle. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true. And Hadi is this year's champion. And I was thinking once Derek turns around, it's going to be game over for Derek. But once I saw them turn around, I was shocked to see how Hadi could not only just keep up with Derek, was actually a little bit better. And so Derek could stand to put on a little bit more size in the quads, hamstrings. Overall, the legs could get bigger. He does have a slightly better developed upper body, but you got to give the rear lats pros. And so both poses from the back to Ronnie Coleman. Although I still think Ronnie's not quite hitting his pose properly. I think he can flare out his lats even more, lower the shoulders, the traps. They appear to be almost ready to sit the pose. I don't even think Ronnie has yet to completely hit this pose. It's perhaps taken a half a second before he finishes the pose.
Big Rami has, or at least had, the potential to challenge Ronnie in this pose. And again,
no, Big Rami's not even close to Ronnie in this pose. What are you looking at? He's not nearly as lean, doesn't have the proper shape proportions. He just looks like he's lacking slightly. Yeah, he's wide, but he doesn't have the detail nor the thickness of Ronnie Coleman.
don't act like this is exact science. Different people can judge this in different ways, and honestly, I can see some judges going for Big Rami here. Again, if this was a prime Rami without visible weaknesses in—
What? You could see some judges going for Big Rami? Name one. Maybe online judges, perhaps Nick's Strength and Power. But if you're an actual certified IFBB judge, such as myself, you're not picking Big Rami over Ronnie Coleman. And on the side tricep pose, what's really lacking from Ronnie here is he's not completely blowing out all the air from his stomach. You're thinking, yeah, he's got a distended stomach, he's bloated. Yeah, to a point, but he's also not executing the pose properly. You need to blow out all your air. Imagine doing a thigh and abdominal or doing a vacuum pose and having a bunch of air in your stomach. It's not going to look good. You have to have a tight, sucked-in stomach. And to do that, you must expel out all of your air. And from the side, Ronnie Coleman's leg, it doesn't look as impressive as from the front. Also, Ronnie Coleman's arms are more impressive from the biceps than they are from the triceps. And so on a side tricep pose, which you're looking at the abdominals, obliques, he simply isn't displaying them. And so you can't just judge a body based on what you think it should look like. You're judging it based on how are you looking right now in that second as you're hitting the pose. And so based on what I'm seeing right here, Hadi Chopin, he's winning the side tricep pose. And so thigh and abdominal, I would say that the thigh portion, it's Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman, incredible quads. But Ronnie Coleman's abs, they don't look nearly as good as Hadi or Derek. And so overall, given the thigh and abdominal pose to Hadi. Ronnie Coleman, he kind of has a 4-pack, not a 6-pack, and he does have a slightly distended stomach. I wouldn't say Ronnie has a small waist. In comparison, Hadi's abs are completely razor sharp, looks incredible. Derek has that small waist but could add more muscle to the quadriceps. And the most muscular, look at Ronnie's quads. Look at the detail, the size. And not only that, Ronnie, he's standing upright, and so you can see his abs. But if he were to crunch down, do the crab pose, he would dominate. The traps, the arms, shoulders, Ronnie has so much size, coupled with those massive tree trunk legs, hard to lose out in a most muscular pose. And so I'd have to give this pose to Ronnie. And so overall, I would still have to say that Ronnie Coleman from 20 years ago would still have won the 2022 Mr. Olympia. But he wouldn't have dominated every pose, and it could be debatable if you penalized him heavily for his abdominal development that perhaps he wouldn't win. It all depends on what are the standards for judging. If you prefer a more aesthetic, smaller waist guy, well, Ronnie's not going to win. If you prefer a guy's look like Chris Bumstead, you could argue Chris Bumstead wins the Open Olympia. But with current judging standards of today, Ronnie Coleman would still win the 2022 Mr. Olympia. And so let me know in the comment section, do you also think that Phil Heath would have won? Who would win between Phil Heath and Ronnie Coleman at their all-time best? And could Dorian Yates or Jay Cutler move ahead? Who is in fact the best Mr. Olympia, what year of all time? Looking for HDLT subs? Click the link in the description. Use code Greg, 10% off. Subscribe, click the bell button, comment for the algorithm, watch one of the bloops, like the video if you liked it. Follow me on Instagram, Greg Doucette IP Pro, and don't forget cookbooks, training books, coaching plans by me and my team, The Circle Diet Book, My Life's Work, How to Lose Weight, Keep It Off for the rest of your life. 10% off, code Greg, link in description. And until next time, I am out.